Hey guys, Chris with Poolometry. Today is video 5 in the core concepts of the Aim with Speed bank system. This is our 5 levels of speed. I'm going to review how to calibrate your stroke so that the power you're using can closely match the power I'm using, so that hopefully my shots are also going to work for you on your table. All right, so level 1 of your power is going to be a tap. This is about 10% of your power, give or take, and roughly about 1 mile per hour. Now, what I want you to do on your table, you're gonna start with the ball semi-center table, and you're gonna align just off of parallel, because we're gonna bank into the rail, but we can't have it coming back at the cue. Now, what you're gonna do is you're gonna hit this ball soft enough that it's gonna touch the rail, but it's going to stop generally within the first third of the table after that one rail. This is what I consider a tap, and it's actually not usable for bank shots, right? Because it would never actually get to another rail. Power level 2 corresponds to 2 rails. In this case, hitting that rail and this rail and stopping after the first third, like within that range. And it's approximately 3 miles per hour, approximately 25% power. Power level 3 corresponds to 3 rails. This is my medium speed stroke. This is about 50% of your power and roughly 6 miles per hour. Again, we're going 1, 2, 3, stopping within the first third after that last rail. Power level 4 is my fast speed stroke. This is actually the power many of you instinctively shoot bank shots with, but this is about 75% of your power, roughly 9 miles per hour, and we're going again that 4 rails, stopping after that 4th rail. And power level 5 is 5 rails. This is 100% power, 12 miles an hour or beyond, whatever you're capable of. And this is hitting 5 rails, stopping after that last rail. Let's see if I can do it. There it is, 5. Now, I will tell you that is basically the functional limit of power in terms of banking. Well, if you want to try to see if you can do 6 rails, what's going to happen, I'm going to tell you ahead of time, you're going to hit this so hard, you're going to end up with a little bit of downforce. It's going to cause this to hop, right? Because it's going to hop into this. This is going to hop, not as dramatic, but just subtly. It's going to hit this rail and it's going to fly right back at your face. So be careful if you want to try 6 rails. Be warned, you might get struck with the object ball. So on the screen now is the chart where I organize all this information, and I want you to notice a couple things. First, the tap is not a usable speed, right? We talked about that. That's not going to reach the pocket. But that blast, that power level 5, that is a very rare occurrence where I would try to hit a bank shot with that power. It's just going to lead to the ball hopping in the air and a near certain pocket rattle. So I'm going to ignore the tap and the blast throughout my entire system, and we're going to focus on the slow, medium, and fast speeds. Now I'm going to give you an exercise where you can try to calibrate your stroke, not just to try to hit the rails back and forth, but to instantly apply it. Specifically, I'm going to give you a number from my cross corner bank shot. The number I'm going to have you work on is from 4 through 2, 1.75, and 1.5. Now, if you don't have diamond markers like I do, now they're available on my website for free, but if you don't have them, just put a piece of chalk between 1 and 2. That's going to be 1.5. And then visually, it should be pretty reasonable to see where 1.75 is. What you're going to do is put the object ball somewhere like center table, and you're going to practice. You're going to try to do maybe a couple times in a row your medium speed calibration. That is 3 rails. So try to knock the object ball 1, 2, 3, and stop within that third of the table. Once you've done that a couple times in a row, I want you to instantly look at diamond 4 on the table through 1.75. That's my medium speed number. So now try to match the stroke you just did with this ball position. Your second shot I want you to shoot is your fast speed calibration. That's 4 rails. Again, ball center table. 1, 2, 3, 4, trying to stop it in that first third. When you can do that confidently a couple of times in a row, instantly set up diamond 4 through 1.5 and try to repeat that stroke through 1.5. And then finally, you're going to try to calibrate for slow speed. Again, that's 2 rails, so ball center table 1, 2, stop within the first third. Then you've got your slow speed, and you are going to try from diamond 4 through diamond 2. These 3 speeds aren't actually the primary idea we're looking for in the aim with speed system. These speeds are how we generate the 3 types of rail action. So the first type of rail action we're going to discuss is actually rail compression. And this is associated with that fast speed stroke. You're sort of familiar with this. I don't know if you realize this is why, but when you hit it fast speed, the object ball is sliding into the rail, and at rail impact, it actually compresses the rail. And this compression cheats the angle. This is why it doesn't do that mirrored angle in, angle out, because the rail compression is absorbing some of that, and it sends it at a shallower angle than the angle that it comes in at. So that's what's happening for the first type of rail action, is rail compression, and that's associated with fast speed. But the second type of rail action is your medium speed. This is actually your pure stroke. This is when the ball is actually just sliding into the rail, but not so fast that it compresses the rail sort of with force. Of course it's going to compress the rail on some level, but it's not compressing the rail enough to change the angle of the trajectory. It's going to do a perfect angle in, angle out. And that's why on the medium speed stroke, we're aiming at the vanishing point. Now the third type of rail action is what you see at slow speed. What happens at slow speed is the object ball doesn't slide into the rail. It hits the rail with topspin. In fact, not just light topspin, it has now become a rolling cue ball, okay? And when you have a rolling cue ball hit the rail, that topspin doesn't translate to perfect topspin back towards the pocket. It actually spins, and it starts to be more of a spiral twist. That topspin, it gets transferred into a very gentle massé factor. And what you see is when it hits the rail, it doesn't go straight at the pocket. You see it actually bend and just sort of curve towards that pocket. But this is also why slow speed is the least effective, because what happens is from table to table to table, sometimes your conditions, whether it be the felt or the humidity, you don't get that slow speed transition of topspin. That's something to watch for. If you're aiming on the slow speed line and you're running short, you do need to aim a little bit further up table, or maybe a little bit softer, for that action to really catch on the rail. So this brings us to the 4 zones of rail distance. Now, the position of the object ball on the table is critical, because sometimes the speed you hit it isn't going to produce the rail action that's associated with the speed you're hitting it. Let's start with rail distance 1. Let's say it is on the rail, or within about a ½ inch of the rail, give or take maybe an inch. Let's say you are on the rail on your 4 to 2 line, and let's say on your table this works pretty well, your slow speed rail action. However, if I try to hit this dead ball 4 through 2 with slow speed, I can't make slow speed rail action, because slow speed rail action is generating that topspin, and there is no possible way to have enough time. There's no distance there to transfer topspin through a rolling cue ball to the 12. It's not going to happen. So I cannot hit this with slow speed rail action. It's impossible. Likewise, because the ball, especially when it's on the rail, you can't produce medium speed rail action, because what's going to happen when you get there, you are going to, even if you hit medium speed, it is going to compress the rail and produce that fast speed rail action. So to demonstrate this idea, I have lined up the ball on my 4 through 1.5. This is my fast speed line. This shot, even if I hit it soft, is going to generate the fast speed rail action of compression. So you're going to see, even though the natural angle out would be like over here, I'm going to hit it fairly soft, and it's going to come back towards the pocket. The second zone of rail distance is where that fast speed only rail zone ends, and you start to come away from the table a little bit. It's about a ½ diamond wide, I'd say somewhere in this sort of range. When you move away from the rail, you're no longer forcing into that compression. So when you're close to the rail, it is going to compress. So even medium speed isn't possible. Slow speed, you can't get the topspin. But when you pull the ball out a little bit, you're still too close to get topspin on the ball, so slow speed is out, but you're not guaranteed to compress the rail. The next rail zone is somewhere around, like I said, sort of this range here. If you go beyond this to maybe a 3/4 or a diamond, and you're now in this space on the table to about 2½ diamonds here, this width is, if the ball's anywhere in here, we have the opportunity to use our 3 different rail actions corresponding to the 3 different speeds. Why? Because we have enough space for that top spin to pick up for slow speed. We can obviously hit it fast if we want to and compress the rail, or our medium speed isn't too far away that it's going to start picking up topspin. So this zone 3 is our optimum space for shooting a bank shot. So our last zone, zone 4, is when you get pretty close to the rail you're starting from. Let's say I was trying to get my medium speed rail action. Well, if I hit this medium speed, I'm now trying to get it to slide all the way to the rail. But this is so far, it's likely that that medium speed sort of wears off, and somewhere as it gets close, it starts getting that topspin associated with slow speed. So if you're gonna shoot from far from the rail at a medium speed number, you actually have to hit a little bit harder to make sure that ball slides all the way into the rail to get medium speed rail action. Now, I wanna be clear that the specific location where these zones start and end is really an approximation. I've given you some numbers, a half a diamond here, 2.5 there, but this is something that changes, especially thinking about the size of a table. If you're on a 7-foot table, you might only be this wide, right? So you can't really get to a place that the object ball is so far from the rail that even medium speed is going to slow and grab that topspin. But if you're shooting on a 9-foot table, you've got an extra foot to deal with over here. So you can very much have the opportunity to be so far away from that first rail that medium speed is guaranteed to pick up slow speed rail action, and you need to make sure you put a little extra oomph into it so that when it hits the rail, it is sliding upon impact with the rail. Now, I hope I didn't have you tap out with all this information, but what hopefully you've picked up is actually you've become aware that banking is all about the rail action. And there's many factors that go into that, but the primary factor really is the speed you hit the ball. Now, you need to know if you're close to the rail or far from the rail, things like this. But your job now is to start noticing the action you're producing on the rail with the object ball. Because the reality is there are only 2 things that you must do when you shoot a bank shot. You must pick your line of aim. You have no choice. You must aim somewhere. And you must choose a speed that you shoot the ball. And that's what aim with speed is all about. Looking at those 2 factors and trying to match them, trying to master your speed and your aiming points so that when you put them together, you have a predictable pattern that you can be confident is going to go in the pocket.